This is the Kratom Science Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Gallagher, blog and social media writer for KratomScience.com, your source for all things Kratom. So, I got no guest this week, so I'm just going to wing it myself and talk about a few things. I'm not as good at this as Jacob Ringstad and Misty Brown. They have Testimony Tuesdays on Facebook, so find them. Jacob Ringstad and Misty Brown, shout out to them. I watched their Testimony Tuesday last Tuesday, and it was really good. They got some good information. They do it live. So I'll just first let you know what we got coming up in the Kratom Science world. On the podcast next week, we're going to do the Journal Club I do with Dr. Jonathan Cachet, and we're going to have a special guest. He was a guest before on the podcast, Dr. Mark Swager, and we're going to talk about a systematic review that he did of pretty much all the Kratom studies and on mental health from the 70s up until 2018 when that paper was published. So that's going to be pretty good. We're going to get the Zoom going and do a little three-way conversation. And so stay tuned next week. And if you would, please like and subscribe to the podcast and turn on notifications or whatever you can do, depending on which platform you're listening to the podcast on. That would help us out a lot, and it'll help keep you up to date and informed about all things Kratom, as I say in the beginning. I said it just like I said it, didn't I? Yeah, and give us a follow on Twitter. We're at Kratom Science on Twitter. Give us a follow on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook that you can like there. Twitter's where we do the most activity because I don't think anybody sees anything on Facebook. So, yeah, like us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, I mean. And a little announcement here coming up soon, probably in the next couple months, we're going to be publishing a document in PDF format. We've had about 5,000 comments on our page over the years, since about 2014, I guess, when the comments were set up, long before I started at Kratom Science. But what I was doing through COVID, it was my COVID project, was I was taking all the comments that had testimonials, and I'm taking all those, and I've been pasting them into a single document, and it's going to be over 800 user testimonials, individual users with testimonials there. So that's something you could look at. That's something you could reference to and link to maybe on a comment section of a news story about, Kratom being a killer drug. That's something you could email your elected officials, email them the link to it. And they're not 100% positive either. There's a couple of people who had negative experiences, but they're very rare. I'd say like 1%. But we left them in there because we want to be honest about Kratom. It doesn't work for everybody. And the reason it may not work for everybody, one reason, has to do with metabolism. That points to an article that I blogged about and that I put up last Tuesday, and depending on when you're listening to this, that would be Tuesday, September 22nd. The title of the blog post is Study Shows Mitragynine Metabolizes into 7-hydroxymitragynine. And this is from a 2019 study in the journal ACS Central Science. That's a good journal because it's all open access. You don't have to worry about a firewall. And we try to post open access links to things that aren't even open access because science should be open access. But anyway, it was by Andrew Krugel, and it came out last year. And the study showed it was both in vivo and in vitro. In vitro, the in vitro part, they tested mitragynine on liver microsomes. both mouse and human liver microsomes. And they showed that mitragynine indeed is oxidized by a certain liver enzyme, and it turns into 7-hydroxymitragynine in both human and mouse livers in vitro, and in vivo, studies in mice showed that mice administered with mitragynine ended up having amounts of 7-hydroxymitragynine in their plasma and brain tissue. I believe that was it. Which there was a lot of tests that they did that showed mitragynine metabolizes into 7-hydroxymitragynine. And there is a liver enzyme that does this. That liver enzyme is called CYP3A4. That's the liver enzyme that it oxidizes mitragynine and it turns it into 7-hydroxymitragynine. There was another experiment done on 2 groups of mice, one given mitragynine, the other given 7-hydroxymitragynine. They took samples afterwards, and they found that both mice in their plasma and brain tissue both had similar levels of 7-hydroxymitragynine. So it shows that 7-hydroxymitragynine, 7-O, stays stable in the liver. So that doesn't change anything, but mitragynine oxidizes in the liver to 7-hydroxymitragynine. And they pointed to other studies where if mice got subcutaneous injections under the skin, or they got injections like right into their cerebral fluid, they didn't have as potent a reaction. So they didn't have an analgesic effect or pain relieving effect. They didn't have that same effect as to when they consumed it. They ate the mitragynine through food or whatever, or water, however they gave it to them. So that shows that the potency effects happen through consumed kratom, and it happens in the liver. So I was talking about Jacob Ringstad and Misty Brown doing their Testimony Tuesday thing. Jacob talks a lot about your metabolism, your gut health. So that goes along with whether kratom works for somebody or not. If you don't have a good liver functioning or you don't have a good metabolism, kratom might not work well for you. This enzyme in particular, that CY something 4, sounds like a license plate, but that particular liver enzyme, if people have abnormally high amounts of that or abnormally low amounts, it could give them a too strong a dose or too weak a dose of kratom. A lot of people take it, they say nothing happened. A lot of people take it, say, I got sick to my stomach, I'm never touching that stuff again. So it could be all in the oxidization. And I shouldn't even have assumed, but some people don't know that 7-hydroxymitragynine, it's the second most abundant alkaloid in kratom. Mitragynine is the most abundant alkaloid. This second most abundant alkaloid has shown to be more potent, so it causes, the greater opioid effects or whatever kratom does. It causes stronger effects. The interesting conclusion that you might draw, and they did in this study, was that the 7-O stays stable in the liver. It doesn't change, which means that kratom with higher amounts of the alkaloid 7-O might not necessarily be more potent. You know what I'm saying? So in the past, they've talked about extracts. Oh, we don't want the chemicals to be imbalanced from the way they are in nature. Well, I mean, for one thing, they haven't been tested that way that much in nature anyway, because there might be fresh leaf that has higher amounts of the alkaloid 7-O. But it's been shown, I believe, that during the drying process and certainly extracting, that higher amounts of 7-O are present. However, in this study, it said it doesn't really matter what the parent compound is, mitragynine or 7-hydroxymitragynine. Since 7-hydroxy stays stable and mitragynine oxidizes in the liver into 7-O, it really kind of doesn't matter, because if you're getting that mitragynine in the 7-O, it's going to produce the same amount of effects. So it might not even matter if an extract has an imbalance of alkaloids from how a fresh leaf would be, or a dried kratom product that has more 7-0 from the drying process might not matter versus, fresh leaf, because it's metabolizing into 7-0 anyway, which is interesting. But the other part of it is, like I said, you have to watch your metabolism. So it's like kratom that's what a lot of people say. Kratom is a tool. It's not a cure. It's your overall health. It adds to your overall health. So you have to watch your metabolism. You have to take care of, what you eat. If you're just eating hamburgers and soda and stuff and fast food or whatever, lots of sugar, well, your liver's going to be working overtime processing that sugar. It's not necessarily going to get to the... So the kratom effects might not be as good if your liver's constantly processing sugar and alcohol, which, that's my case with the alcohol. I'm actually coming up tomorrow, I'm going to be a week where I haven't had one drink at all, which is good for me. But yeah, no, I tapered down. I'm keeping a diary of it. And then, previously I would take kratom maybe once a week when I was tired and stuff like that. I'm not like a big kratom guy. Some of the other guys at Kratom Science are, but not me. But what I've been doing in the past, and what I did a sober October last year where I didn't drink at all, and I took kratom about 4 or 5 days a week. And then, this was like October. This was really sober November. But when I resumed drinking, I did not crave alcohol. When I drank, it kind of made me a little queasy. This is like end of 2019. And, I remember we went to a New Year's Eve dinner. I went with my wife, and I didn't, really want the wine. So I had to, train my body to drink again. Because I was like, I was doing a sober October. So I trained my body to drink all the way back up to the excessive levels that I've drank. I've been drinking pretty heavily for the past 25 years. First time I got drunk, I was 12. But, see, that's my own kratom story, but it's not complete yet, so I've kept kind of quiet about it. I've talked privately with some of the guests and who have become friends and stuff like that. But I just wanted to go back on the alcohol just to experiment because it was really fascinating. It was only a month, and with a little bit of kratom, not more than a tablespoon a day of Bali tea kratom, and I had a little bit of extract here and there too, but it was the equivalent of maybe not more than 7 grams a day, 3 teaspoons, and 4 or 5 days a week, and I was fine. And then when I went back drinking, I didn't feel like drinking. It was the weirdest thing. I've never not felt like drinking. Never. I stopped getting hangovers in my early 20s. I would wake up and drink. I've been drinking for breakfast for decades. I'm telling you. I drink more than anybody I know. Not in the past week, but anybody I know, unless they're hiding it pretty well. But, yeah, that was me. That's like a Irish drunkard. And it's, you run into mistakes and rock bottoms, but I'm pretty functional. I'm not... It takes me a lot to get drunk. My tolerance is usually pretty high, so I can get up and have one for breakfast. Nobody will know I'm drunk throughout the day, and then I'll be a little slurry at night, but totally sober right now for a week. So what I did was I went out. I'm trying to support my local bar. So I was down there, and my friend just moved back from the West Coast, and we were hanging out, and then I blacked out, which is, I hardly ever do that. And I used to do it 4 days a week when I was in my 20s. But, I hope this story doesn't bore you. But anyway, I got home okay. I let my dog in. I put my shoes in the place I usually put them in, got undressed, went to bed. I have a CPAP machine. I put that on. Don't remember any of it. Woke up, dog in bed. Both doors, front doors are locked. Front door, back doors locked. I tipped the driver. Like, I don't remember any of that shit. So I'm like, that's what kind of kicked in for me to be like, okay, I want to do a sober October at least, and maybe beyond. But the main reason I've been wanting to be a little more sober or all the way sober, I just don't commit to it because I don't want to write a check my ass can't cash. So, but it's mainly is liver functioning is one of the main things. With all the alcohol, it's about like it's about half my daily calories when I'm going. It really is. I don't eat that much, but I'm an overweight guy, so once I free up my liver to like process the shit that it should, then I start to lose weight and my metabolism increases. I already noticed my energy's increased, but I'm back on doing Kratom about 5 days a week, but I'm keeping the log, and it's only I can't imagine doing more, going up and up and up with Kratom. Maybe I will, but I'm only taking it now when I get cravings. I was doing it every day. So what happened was, okay, that was that Saturday. The bartender messaged me to make sure I was okay. She's a friend of mine. My friend I was with. And I was like, okay, that's a sign to let's do this sober thing that I've been wanting to do. So for me, I was drinking a lot of liquor every day, so I had to taper down. So anybody else listen to this, maybe this will help you out if you want to stop drinking too. If I had my fucking druthers and I had nothing to live for, I'd drink like a liter a day of alcohol. Any kind you got. Like, not a fifth, like even more than a fifth. Like a fifth and a few glasses of wine or something. That's what I do when I get to my peak. But, and it's weird because I can totally function too. So it's not like it's some kind of outer catastrophe that happens, even though there are those. But it's kind of like an inner, my body's going to fucking shut down by the time I get in my 50s if I stay on this way, This is kind of a more personal podcast than they usually are, ain't it? Ain't it? Is it not? Is it not, my dear audience? That's what happens when I talk to myself alone in a room. But so what I did was I had been drinking heavily for days, like real heavily, and I'm like, I'm either gonna get in a bad fight with the wife or, I'll fall, and blackout was the sign. The worst thing I'll do is I'll say something offensive to like one of my friends and have to apologize, which actually happened this year too. I'm such an asshole. But I don't want that to ever happen. You want to be a better person. So what I did Sunday, I had White Claws in the fridge. There was like 9 fucking White Claws. I drank all of them. I didn't get drunk. I don't get drunk off of that shit. Beer it just gave me a headache, but I knew I needed to taper down or I'd be like an anxious, shaking mess. Like I've had it where I've never got the DTs, which are hallucinations. But I've had it to where, I'd wake up kind of shaking, put the hand out and it goes a little bleh, and I'm just anxious and nervous for no reason. I have a job I like. I don't have anything to be nervous about there. My wife's cool. I don't have any abusive people in my life anymore. I keep it at arm's length when they raise their red flags. I'm old enough to know what the red flags are. That's the kind of stuff that causes me like real anxiety. But I was getting anxiety for no freaking reason because I didn't have my drink yet. So I saw that drink was anxiety medication. I mean, it had started being like that in my mid-20s, really. I mean, it was a fun party thing for a while, but then it started to be anxiety medication, and it came from a lot of things that I won't go into, but it's because I couldn't deal with the people that were making me anxious. I couldn't, basically tell them to shut the fuck up and fuck off, Nowadays, I'm real good at that. In so many ways. You don't just say fuck off. You can tell somebody fuck off politely. But anyway, Monday I'm like, all right, I'm going into it now. I had 9 White Claws. That's me tapering. 9 White Claws. Tuesday, I went in to do some work where I work, and then I got a bottle of wine on the way home because I knew there was nothing in the house, and I knew I needed to taper. So Tuesday I took some Kratom. I had some Bali tea, and it cut out the cravings, and it helped a little bit. It didn't cut them out all the way, but it helped out. And I just fucking I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to do it. And I had 1 glass of wine Tuesday night. Same thing Wednesday. Took some Kratom. Lasts me in the morning. Lasts me all the way till night. 1 glass of wine. And a glass of wine, not like a little dinky one in a restaurant. Like, you pour that fucking thing. Okay, Thursday, same thing. Took some Kratom in the morning. I'm like, all right, I'm going. And I didn't sleep well Wednesday night. I was really, the Kratom was carrying me. But, so Thursday, I'll just have a glass of wine to sleep. I really don't feel like having it. So I had the glass of wine. And I'm like, all right, I'll have another one just to knock me out. It doesn't matter. I'm doing great. 1 glass of wine a day is fucking great. I didn't have the other one. I poured it. I poured the other one. And then I didn't even take a sip of it, and I puked. And I'm like, what the hell? And then the next day, I did not even crave it. Next day, I didn't even take Kratom. The following day after that, had some Kratom. Still didn't crave any alcohol. Sunday comes around, football time. I'm making chili. I'm like, I need some beer, man. So I took the Kratom. That went away. That craving went away. Monday, I don't even think I had Kratom Monday. Tuesday, I had some Kratom. I had a little craving. Here we are on Wednesday. I didn't even have a craving today. I haven't had Kratom yet. I made some Kratom yesterday, and didn't even have any. So I haven't had Kratom today, and I haven't had a craving for alcohol. So that's what I'm saving it for. I'm probably going to have some tomorrow because I'm going to go hang out with my friend, and he might be drinking. And we might even go to a bar. I'll probably get a Coke and some wings or something like that. Yeah, that's good for you. But anyway, that's my little story, and if anybody's interested, I'll keep you updated. And if anybody out there is trying to quit drinking, Kratom has certainly helped a lot of people do that. I hear more from the opiate addicts that it helped them, but I think there's a lot of alcoholics that's helped too. And it certainly helped me, and I'm definitely going to go through October. I think my wife's going to do Sober October, which is kind of a joke because she drinks like 2 glasses of wine a week. But yeah, that's my story. Like I said, stay tuned for next week. We're going to have a good round table with Dr. Mark Swager and Dr. John. And we're going to talk about some Kratom Science next week. And if anybody would like to be a guest and you have a interesting Kratom story that you think's interesting and you like to talk, please hit me up. You can email me, gallagher.liberty@gmail.com. I know it's a long email. Gallagher.liberty@gmail.com, or comment on YouTube or wherever you see this. Hit me up on Twitter @Kratom Science. And if you want to be a guest and talk to me and you have a Kratom story, I'd be more than happy. The more you like to talk, the better, because I write about 20-25 questions, and if I get like a 1-word answer, it's going to be like a 10-minute podcast. So I like folks that like to talk. The music is Risey. The song is called Memories of Thailand. The Kratom Science Podcast is written and produced by me, Brian Gallagher, for KratomScience.com. Take care.